So, hello and welcome to the first ever Anfield Edition podcast. My name is Owen, and joining me today we have Ty. So, say hi, Ty.
Alright, guys.
Right, so we're going to be discussing everything Liverpool ahead of the 2017-18 season, which is actually starting tomorrow, obviously, with our opening fixture against Watford. Today we'll be debating our transfer business this summer and our predictions for both individual players and the squad in general, and also the prospect of Champions League football should we obviously get past Hoffenheim. But obviously we've got to start with breaking news today. Coutinho's handed in a transfer request. It was made via email about 1 p.m. today, and Liverpool and FSG remain adamant that he will not leave. What's your thoughts on that, Ty?
Well, for me, it's just a little bit of a shock because obviously the other week we heard that he was only be happy to go to Barcelona if the move could be agreed amicably. So for me, when that was being said, in my mind that says if Liverpool can come to an agreement with Barcelona and they're happy for him to go, then that's fair enough. But what does that mean now then? Because at the moment it looks like he didn't get his way. Liverpool have said he's not going to be sold, and all of a sudden he's handing a transfer request. So in terms of the statement they released and now what he's saying, it doesn't quite tie up, really, does it?
Yeah, I mean, when they said amicably, you're thinking that means that the clubs have got to agree on a fee before he can even go and, request a transfer or go and speak to personal terms with the club. Now this, obviously, the modern game is very player-driven and player power is everything. It seems like he's sort of taken matters into his own hands and thought, if I can't, if the clubs aren't going to agree on a move, then I'm going to have to do this myself pretty much.
Yeah, it's just a bit of I think it's the timing of it is a little bit strange for me. Because of course, knowingly that it looks like we've missed out on Keita, who was one of our main transfer targets. As I mentioned before, if we had got someone in like that or a direct replacement, we've discussed previously, Isco, Asensio, etc. You might think the club would be more inclined to let him go.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason they're going to just hold on so adamantly to not selling him. I mean, obviously we got the statement from FSG this morning, about 10 o'clock, wasn't it, saying that he isn't for sale no matter what the price. I mean, I think they'll probably stick to that as well. I can't see them trying to, let him go cheap or even easily at this point. Obviously, 120 million, 130 million is what he's being sort of rumoured of the value. I mean, would you take that realistically?
Fast forward a year, I'd snap your hand off for it, 120, 130 mil, 100%. But as I just said, the timing of it is a bit of a strange one. It doesn't leave us with a huge amount of time to replace him with someone of, the same if not better quality,
Yeah. I mean, obviously, he's going to be such a difficult player to replace as well, given sort of the influence he's had on the side. I mean, we've seen it in pre-season so evidently. When he's played centrally, he is one of the best players in the league. And I think you're really going to struggle then to sort of, at this point of the season as well, other clubs aren't going to be willing to sell up their best players. I mean, we're sort of being bullied by Barca, but, other clubs aren't going to want to let go either. So it's going to be really hard to replace him should he leave.
100%, I said, and at the end of the day, we are in a strong position. It was only, January he signed a new contract? Mm-hmm. So, and on top of that, there's no release clause in there either. So I don't think we're in a position where we're under pressure to sell him. FSG, as you said already, they've come out and said, it was a strong statement, come out and said they won't sell him no matter what the price is offered. So we are in a strong position. We're seeing it with the likes of Sanchez at Arsenal as well. They're happy. There's complete opposite actually for them. His contract is running out next summer, but they're still happy for him to kind of wind that down and go on a free next year. So
yeah, because obviously with that Sanchez situation, it was everyone expected him to leave given the end of the last season, but it looks like he's going to stay put as well. Even though he was pushing the club for a move, I think we could definitely look at that example and say, given that he's got a year left on his contract, we should feel a lot more confident knowing that Coutinho is our player and he is under a 5-year deal. That should give us a lot of confidence knowing that Sanchez is staying, even though, they've only got a year left. We should really look at that and think that's the example we want to be setting, especially to the supporters as well.
Yeah, you'd hope so, but as you said, there's a lot of player power now, and I think it depends on the stance Coutinho takes. If he turns around, similar to what Suarez did, he kind of threw his toys out the pram, didn't he, and kicked up a bit of a fuss at first, but then, of course, we know he'd done a bit of a U-turn and said, no, I'm happy to stay. He obviously released a statement saying he loves the fans, he loves the club, etc., etc. If Coutinho comes out and does that, I think the fans will accept it. We know, we can't compete with Barcelona and Real Madrid and the likes of them. You're going to... Liverpool, unfortunately, over the years, don't get me wrong, we're a top club. We're not a top team anymore. We're not challenging for the Premier League. We're not challenging for the Champions League year on year.
Yeah.
So taking that consideration is always going to be inevitable with Coutinho. We've seen it from the last couple of years, and it was always that fear in the back of your head. It's great to see him performing week in, week out like that. But you just knew with every kind of performance, with another man in the match, another winning goal, another free kick from 30 yards. Barcelona are going to come calling at some stage.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's obviously a downfall of him playing well. And I mean, he is crucial to our top four chances. Do you reckon we could get top four without him?
I don't want to be one of those fans that says, no, we can live without him, it's fine, he's replaceable. I really don't think he's irreplaceable. Just in terms of, yeah, okay, he gets us goals, he gets us assists. But irreplaceable to me was Luis Suarez. Someone who could create literally something out of nothing, all on his own. He could be a match winner all on his own. I think I made some notes when Coutinho obviously got picked up his injury last year. He was out between, end of November to January. Obviously, we had a bit of a fixture pile-up. It was quite congested. And we played 7. We won 4, we drew 2, and we lost 1. And I think that was against Bournemouth, that 4-3 loss.
Yeah.
So, and in those games, I think I wrote it down. We lost 4-3 against Bournemouth. So, we scored 3 goals there. We drew 2-2 versus West Ham. We put 3 past Borough. We beat Everton in the last minute, 1-0. We put 4 past Stoke. We beat Man City 1-0, and we drew with Sunderland 2-2. So, for me, we were still scoring plenty of goals. And the one thing that we were crying about last year was our defence. We never had a problem. There was never an issue with the amount of chances being created. We've always done that, I think. And a constant issue for Liverpool was the defence. So, although he would be a huge miss, but I think there's players out there that could comfortably come in and do what Phil does.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that to some extent. I mean, I remember reading something a bit earlier saying that he registers like a shot on goal, an assist, a key pass, or a goal itself every 12 minutes when he plays, which is just ridiculous. You've got to be thinking at that point, like, he is the main creative force in that team. But like you said, he is replaceable ultimately. Every player is. I mean, we've struggled replacing players in the past. Obviously, you can think of a few examples. Alonso, Torres, Suarez, like that's Mascherano even. You could bring him into the mix. Those 4, I feel like we haven't even, we never got a direct replacement. And that's something that they're really, going to have to pull their finger out with. Should Coutinho leave this summer, we're going to need a direct replacement for him.
I think our issue was last year, aside from the defence, in my mind, when we lost Mane, that was a little bit more of a worry for us because we didn't have a direct replacement for speed. Coutinho, when he can drop in that central position like he's done this pre-season as well, but a lot of players can do what Phil does. Not to the same extent, I'm not saying that, but we've got the likes of Lallana in there. We've got Firmino if he wanted to drop in. We've got that creative spark running throughout the team. But
I completely agree.
In terms of speed and directness, as soon as Mane got injured, that was my worry because we didn't have anyone. When those teams drop deep, you need players that can take on their opponent. You need players to run at people and cause trouble by themselves. And without Mane in the team, we didn't have that. We didn't have a like-for-like replacement. So I love Phil. He's been my favourite player for the last few years. But give me an Isco. Give me the up-and-coming Asensio for Real Madrid as well. And plus, if we can get some change out of that, I think, 100%. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible, certainly. It's just the necessity of having that other player in. So, like you said, Isco, Asensio. Just get another top-notch playmaker, another top-notch, just someone that can really grasp the game and actually create chances. Just get someone in like that, and I would feel a lot more confident going into this next season. Yeah,
I mean, I completely agree with you. In terms of the top 4, yeah, he's crucial to it, but I wouldn't... If we were able to get right now, if you gave me 120 million and we spent, say, between somewhere along the lines of 60 to 80 million on a player of the like that we were going to get someone in to replace Coutinho, like Asensio and Isco, then I'd feel a lot more confident. If we were to let Coutinho go now with no replacement, as much as I'd be confident in terms of we would still create chances, I think it would affect us directly.
Yeah, because remember the start of last season where it was just Coutinho, Mane, Firmino just dominating games, just the 3 of them. I think you take Coutinho out of that mix, you'll see a lot less chances created.
100%. It's the link up, isn't it? You know, when you watch him and Firmino and they're on the same wavelength, and it makes a huge difference to the way we attack.
Yeah. So finally, will he stay? Yes or no?
I'll say yes, based on the position the club are in. It's a 5-year contract. There's no release clause, and for me, it's too far gone in the transfer window to replace him with someone of the same, if not better, quality.
Yeah, I mean, I have to completely agree with that. I think given FSG's statement today, should they let him go now, completely undermines their ownership, and it does reflect badly, first of all on the club, but also it could actually reflect badly on Klopp, I think, in one sense, because you're going to be thinking then, what is he doing there? Why is he a club that will just give up their best players just like that? I think you would see a lot of doubt from the manager himself in the club's direction. So I think we will keep on to him. I think we will actually keep hold of Coutinho for this summer, but next season, he would be gone, certainly.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, with all that out of the way, the meltdown's gone. How would you rate this summer's transfer business out of 10?
Well, let's say we better hope we can hang on to Phil, because otherwise, at the moment, I'm saying 6. If we lose Phil, it's going to plummet to a 4.
Yeah.
If not worse.
I'd go lower than a 4, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd say 6 at the moment, just purely based on the fact that we've brought in Salah, we've brought in Solanke and so on. But in terms of the whole, when we left last season, we probably needed, qualifying for the Champions League as well, we needed, even for the first 11, a minimum of 3 quality players to go into the first 11, not just the squad. So, based on what we've brought in, it's only Mohamed Salah, really, that has strengthened our first 11.
Yeah. And I think we did need Salah as well. Like, certainly that was something we had to bring in, another pacey player. Like you said a bit earlier, obviously, with Mane when he was gone, just completely lacking pace, lacking any sort of incision from our attacking players that can sort of just run at the defence. And I think Salah, that's definitely something he'll bring into the side. What have you thought of him in pre-season?
I've been really impressed, to be honest with you. I thought, given the fact that Chelsea let him go, obviously we wanted him when Chelsea got hold of him in the end, and I was a little bit gutted at the time then, even though I didn't know as much about him as I do now. It was something we still needed, and obviously still needed now. Speed, directness. Pre-season, I don't want to get too carried away, because we've seen it loads of times.
Yeah.
We've only got to look at Aspas.
Yeah, I've got Aspas, my God.
Yeah, so pre-season, he's been brilliant. He's exactly what we need, especially if someone like Mane did get an injury. My worry is, I still think we need another winger, because, again, you've got Mane, you've got Salah, you've got Firmino through the middle. Take out one of those wingers, and we're in the same situation as we are last year. We're still kind of clamouring for speed. So another winger needs to come in. Maybe as a slight understudy. I don't think we'd be able to keep so many people happy if we had another top 40, 50 million pound wingers. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But we definitely need someone to come in if the worst happens, suspension and injury and so on.
Yeah, I mean, I'd point to the 3 youngsters in that case. I think Ryan Kent, we've got Shea Ojo, Ben Woodburn, like all 3 of them. I mean, obviously, they're not direct replacements. Should injury come in, you don't want them starting. But off the bench, certainly, they'll definitely give us a new dynamic. And I think that'll be good options for Klopp to actually deploy this season.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Kent hangs around this year. I mean, after what I've seen of him, I'd like to keep him on the bench. I've already said that. I was quite happy with what he did last pre-season, actually, and I was wondering whether he would hang around. But I think the season he's had at Barnsley has allowed him to kick on a little bit more. And seeing him, he wasn't phased against Bayern Munich, taking on, who was it? On their right back. Can't remember.
It wouldn't have been Alaba.
No.
Not Lahm either, he's retired. No. I honestly have no idea.
Could have been Rafinha, maybe?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I think it actually wasn't it?
Yeah, he tore him apart, that little step over. So he wasn't phased. So he's showing that against the world's best in Bayern Munich, he wasn't afraid to come on and play exactly the way he plays naturally. So I'd like to see a little bit more of him this season. If we can hang on to him and kind of, as you said, bring him on maybe in cup games, in games where we're comfortably in the lead. I'd like to see a little bit more of him, see what he can do, rather than kind of send him on loan again. I don't think that's really going to do him much better than hanging around on our bench, maybe picking up 10, 15 games this season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what's best for the club is probably to keep him on the bench as well. I mean, we're going to need the depth I mean, you look across Chelsea's squad, especially Chelsea's squad, out of anyone in the league, they've got like 14 first-team players fit. Like, that's all they have. Obviously, they've sold a few players this summer, but they've only brought in direct replacements like Bakayoko, Morata. They definitely, you know, comparing it to our depth, I feel a lot more confident in the squad. I think, obviously, the business that we've done, we really needed a centre-back. I think that was blatant to anyone that watched us last season. I think Lovren isn't fit to cut it for us. I mean, Van Dijk, the whole saga that went on, what were your thoughts on that, us missing out on him?
It was just an absolute mess, wasn't it, to be honest with you? It was poor. Obviously, there's rumours that someone at the club is to blame in terms of leaking. I think that the main issue wasn't it, that Van Dijk had come out and said he only wants to play for Liverpool, which directly kind of decreased Southampton's pull and saying the transfer by Van Dijk, by the club, apparently Liverpool leaking that Van Dijk only wanted Liverpool. It meant that Southampton couldn't really have their say on the transfer as much as they thought they could. So where they wanted an auction and kind of Liverpool competing against the likes of Chelsea and Man City, that was kind of taken away from them when Van Dijk come out and said that. So you can see why they were annoyed. I think the transfer would have been wrapped up weeks and weeks ago had that not happened. But overall, we need Van Dijk in. I still think personally is going to happen, the Van Dijk. Which is a bit of a weird one, really, because I'm saying we'll still hold on to Coutinho, who's apparently unhappy, but it's different in it. I've seen on Sky Sports News the other day they were talking about the football food chain, and at the end of the day, we know Barcelona are above Liverpool, and we also know Liverpool are above Southampton. So inevitably, both moves will happen. Just obviously from a Liverpool's perspective, and me being kind of hopeful more than anything, is we hold on to Coutinho and the Van Dijk transfer still happens for us.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's been a lot of controversy surrounding that. I think there's a report, I believe, that it's like Southampton will only sell to us. They have to like publicly admit he is for sale for him to go to us. It's a really weird concept because obviously we've announced publicly we have no interest in him. So we can't, go out and sign him. I think basically that was used as blackmail for any sort of Premier League investigation into the club and any tapping up that went on, because that could result in a transfer ban, I do believe. So we're sort of being held to ransom by Southampton for once, which is quite interesting given obviously the way we stole their players in recent months. But I still think it could go through. I'm not sure if it will. I think Van Dijk could end up at Chelsea. I think they could go in and just, obviously they're in dire need of depth, like I've said before, but they could just go in with 70 million, just smack it on the table, and Southampton are going to bite their hand off for it at this point, knowing that Van Dijk's not happy to be there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a funny one, because for me, if Southampton come out and said he's not for sale, and then they accept a bid from Chelsea for 70 million, surely that opens up, though, a window for Liverpool to bid as well. Because if Southampton are changing their stance, because they've still come out, don't forget, and said, doesn't matter, Van Dijk's handing in a transfer request, he's not for sale. Yeah. If they suddenly accept a bid of 60 million plus 70 million from Chelsea, surely that doesn't stop Liverpool from saying, well, Southampton have now said and dropped their stance and kind of eased up on their stance on Van Dijk. I can't see anything stopping us from bidding for him.
Yeah, that in that case, it's fine. It's whether basically Chelsea make a bid. As soon as Chelsea make contact with Southampton making a bid, we can go ahead and match that. I do believe that's the stance on it. I mean, I'd pay upwards to 70 million for him in this market, to be honest. We just need a centre-back in desperately. Obviously, Klopp's not willing to forgive Sakho for whatever reason, which is obviously to my frustration because I'm quite a big Sakho fan. But it's going to be a really weird one to see how that plays out, to be honest, the Van Dijk situation.
Yeah, I think for me, like I said, we hold on to Coutinho, add Van Dijk in. I'm not too sure of anything else. The Keita deal looks more or less dead to me. I still think we might pull off, I'm hoping anyway, another signing that'll come in out of the blue in my mind. But add Van Dijk in, keep Coutinho for me straight away. That'll give us no more than a 7, unfortunately, for me, out of the transfer window. Yeah. Right now, my priority, I hope the club's priority, is holding on to Coutinho because that'll be a huge blow for us.
Yeah.
Adding a centre-back is crucial.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, now just looking just internally within the squad we've already got, who do you think our best player will be this season? I mean, personally, my money's on Salah. I think obviously what we've seen from pre-season is very promising. Obviously, we shouldn't read too much into that. But I think he will genuinely be the standout player for us this season. I really can't wait to see him tomorrow against Watford. Yeah. I think that was correct. I mean, he scored like 18 goals, wasn't it? Something like that. Yeah, we can already point to De Bruyne and Lukaku. Obviously, have ended up moving for massive money in the end, so I think we've really got a proper steal with Salah there. Because if he'd gone to like Real Madrid or Barcelona, you'd think it's quite an inspired signing from them to look at that player and think pick him out from Roma and say that's who they want. I think it's more just the fact that he's obviously come back to the Premier League and that he's gone to Liverpool, who now aren't regarded as one of Europe's elite. It does sort of degrade from the actual piece of business we've pulled off here, I think.
Well, if you have a look at what's going on around the transfer market at the moment, it's kind of boomed all of a sudden, especially thanks to the Neymar transfer. Now I think you'll see a kind of a bit of a transfer merry-go-round at the moment. It's going to be silly prices, and when you look back at it, Salah for 35 million for one of the Italian league's best players might be a bargain at the end of the season, I hope.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm counting on as well. I think he will probably be our best player this season. Are there any other sort of mentions you'd give, for people that maybe sort of be the unsung heroes among our squad?
Well, again, just from pre-season, Solanke, he scored 3 goals over pre-season?
Yeah, 3 goals.
And I kind of seen something on it the other day. Solanke's come in, he's a raw talent. He's coming from Chelsea. Chelsea can get him to agree to stay there. He wasn't a player that Chelsea were happy to let go. We all know what Conte's like, so if a player doesn't want to be there, he's kind of that manager to say, right, there's the exit door kind of thing. But I think it could be a blessing in disguise for Liverpool. He's come in, he's contributed really well. He's shown he can hold the ball up. He's got a bit of a trick with him as well. And if we had signed a striker, say, for 40-50 million and he's scored 3 goals and done what Solanke's done pre-season, we'd be going mad, wouldn't we? Everyone would be completely buzzing. So it's not a free transfer. It's going to be a few mil probably by tribunal, but I'm hoping he can kind of go under the radar and produce a little bit when we're not expecting it, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. I think he really provides a different dimension to Firmino as well. Obviously, we're all big Firmino fans as Liverpool supporters. A lot of outside people won't understand, obviously, what he does for the team. As we watch him week in, week out, we can tell how important he is to that system. But Solanke's really going to offer us something different. I mean, just from pre-season, you saw his influence in the air. It's unbelievable. The way that he just picks out a cross and just like heads it, it's the perfect technique. It's what it reminded me of was sort of like Harry Kane, sort of just that presence up front. He's not a full on target man because he's brilliant with his feet as well, and the finishing that he's shown off is superb. But he really is he does look like a different sort of class, and obviously he's only 20 years of age. Yeah, exactly. So he's going to grow and grow, and he's going to become a really good player for us, I reckon.
I hope so. Like I said, he should get plenty of. He should be like the leading man in terms of the cup games. When it comes to the FA Cup, maybe against some of the lesser sides, and certainly in the League Cup as well. He should be the main man we look to when we bring him into the side. But if he can use that and kick on, if he can take his opportunity, if Firmino picks up a few niggles, which is obviously inevitable throughout the rest of the season, I think he can come in and show us what he's got. He's obviously going to come in with a point to prove. He's left one big club, come into another, and he's going to want to show everyone what he can do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just looking specifically at our defence, obviously was probably our undoing last season. We could have finished a lot higher, should it not have been for that. One really interesting point I think has been the inclusion of Moreno back in the side throughout pre-season. What do you think is going to be his role going into the game against Watford? Do you reckon he'll start?
I'd like to see him. I think based on pre-season, he deserves it. That is a couple of performances against Hertha and against Bayern Munich in particular. I think he was exactly what we missed last season. We had James Milner in there, who we know is not a left back, and we've seen time and time again Milner's got that habit of cutting in onto his right foot, and how many times did we see the ball, floating out of play? So if Moreno can produce what we expected when we first signed him, which was a left back, someone to fill our left back slot for the next 10 years, I'll be really happy. And it could be, I don't want to use the phrase, but our signing of the season without actually having to bring someone in.
Yeah, I can see completely what you mean. Obviously, I think the best thing about it is now that if Klopp is really considering bringing Moreno back into the side, it does provide competition for Milner, because he literally had none last season. So he'd have a bad game, he'd remain there the next game. I think what Klopp's going to do this season, we'll see a lot of rotation at fullback. Obviously, with the addition of Andy Robertson from Hull as well, 8 million, just for him is looking like quite a good deal for me. Just that's three. So Milner, Robertson, and Moreno all competing for one spot. That's the sort of competition I think we need within the side.
Yeah, well, we know how versatile Milner is now, so I think that also gives him a chance to kind of move back into his favoured midfield position as well. So
yeah,
we've got a bit of cover there, extra cover there, should Emre Can, Wijnaldum, Lallana, who we already know is already out for a couple of months now as well. So I think Moreno should be directly competing with Robertson now. You'd expect that anyway, two natural left-backs competing for that position. You would hope that it pushes both players to kind of move up a level. Robertson has to come in and do exactly what he did for Hull. He was a standout player. And, we didn't see him play full 90 minutes enough, probably. Well, from my point of view anyway, he's not a player that I watch week in, week out when he was at Hull. But yeah. I know enough about him to see that he can put in a great cross. He's composed. I don't think he looked... I think he kind of came into the Liverpool team seamlessly. You see, look, when I first seen him actually in his game against, was it Hertha?
Yeah, it would have been Hertha.
Yeah, it looked like he'd been there for a couple of seasons already. He didn't seem fazed by it at all. He kind of blended in nicely with the squad. And it's just a case of seeing if he can take that now, run with it, and produce the same form as he did at Hull.
So, looking at the Watford game, who would you start at left back for the first game this season?
Right now, I'm going to go Moreno. I want to give him a chance, and hopefully he takes it.
Fair enough. I mean, I'd go with Robertson personally. I think he's a bit more sound defensively, and if you cast your eyes back to obviously the Arsenal game, the start of last season, remember what Moreno did then? That penalty slide, I will never just forget that. Just seeing him slide across to completely wipe out, I think it was Walcott at the time.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous, just a moment of madness. I think that's when he sort of lost it in a lot of Liverpool fans' eyes and obviously Klopp's. But I'd go with Robertson to start the season, but I would, give Moreno a good go as well, because he's brilliant going forward.
Yeah, and that's a big thing for us. Like I said, if you allow Salah and Mane to concentrate on their attacking duties, and if Moreno can kind of tidy up his defensive duties, and he's just got that thing in him, hasn't he? He comes across as a little bit, as you said then, a bit brain dead at times defensively. So if Klopp can kind of coach that out of him, then we could be onto something at left back, and I'm all for competition if that's going to take us on to bigger and better things in that position, which we obviously lacked.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, looking back at last season, I'd definitely class it as a success. Obviously, finishing fourth, that was such a big deal for the club, and I think for Klopp as well, sort of proving his credentials again as the manager. So getting that, that Champions League qualification, obviously, if we do get past Hoffenheim, looking sort of at this season, what would you class as success for this squad?
For me, it's got to be cementing our place in the Champions League. Which, as I mentioned it earlier, didn't I? We're a big club. We're not a big team because we're not constantly in the Champions League. I think since at the turn of the century, we were there all the time. We were there. We were challenging. We won it. We got to another final. And since 2009, 2010, I think this is our third appearance. Yeah. I think, is it? Third appearance in the Champions League?
Yeah, that's correct. Last 7 seasons, it's been 3 appearances.
Yeah, so, we need to be top 4 again. But you'd also like to see us pick up a trophy, I think.
Yeah, I think, obviously, we're going to have to prioritise, I think, for once the Champions League. I think we need, like you said, to cement that top 4 status again as a club. I think a lot of fans have been crying out for that. And we've just sort of been pining back to like what we used to be. That's the issue. I think obviously we're all casting our eyes back to like 2008, 2009, like pre then, when we were just, we were a solid top four team every season. Obviously, the Premier League's got a lot more competitive since then. You've seen the rise of Spurs, obviously, being a solid top four side now. That's definitely sort of kicked us off our perch a bit. So this season, I think we need to finish in the top four. And to be honest, in the Champions League, like I'd like to see us at least get to the quarterfinals. It's a bit ambitious, but I would like us to try and, give that a real go. What do you think we'll do as far as the European competition?
I completely agree with you. I think if we get to the quarter-final stage, then we've done well. It all depends now. Obviously, first of all, we need to get past Hoffenheim, which isn't going to be an easy task.
Obviously, you've become a bit of an expert in Hoffenheim the last few days.
Yeah.
What sort of test does that provide for us?
Well, it looks like they're a good attacking team. They score plenty of goals and they're sound defensively. I think after Bayern Munich, it was them who conceded the least goals in the league last year. They've brought in Kramaric, which we know from Leicester City. He didn't have the best of times there, but he's done well for him. His strike partner, Wagner, I think is Sandro Wagner. He seems like a good foil. He's their strength man. He's going to hold up the ball well for them, and he's going to be a bit of a presence for the likes of Lovren and Matip to deal with. It's not an easy game at all. You look at that draw. When we looked at our options, Hoffenheim for me, along with Nice, were the teams I wanted to avoid. And it'd be exactly the same for Hoffenheim as well. They wouldn't have wanted to draw Liverpool. In terms of where I see us going, I think we will get past Hoffenheim. You'll have to believe that. And I think if we want to be in the Champions League, you need to beat a team like Hoffenheim to be there. We're going to be seeded in the third pot, I think, if we do get through.
Yeah, so I mean that means we could face off obviously against like Real Madrid, Barcelona, PSG. Then second pot, isn't that like obviously we can't draw English teams, but that's like Napoli, is it? Or are they in the same pot with us?
I'm unsure, but it's not going to be an easy draw regardless.
No,
I think
not at all.
You hope for a little bit of luck. Obviously we're going to get a top team, like you said, the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich. It'll then be a case of what team comes out of pot 2, and hoping for a little bit of luck there. There's going to be a few teams there where you're going to want teams. You're going to want to avoid certain teams, but there's going to be probably 2 or 3 where you think, you fancy our chances. So, providing our group isn't too cruel to us, I think, is then anything can happen. And you know what Liverpool are like with knockout occasions. I think I fancy us. Take any team at Anfield. We only seen what we done against Dortmund. Odds are against us. We came back and we passed the task. So let's see who we draw first. And first of all, let's see if we need to get past Hoffenheim. But I'm looking forward to it. It's nice. We just need to kick on now in the Champions League, and I think doing that will get other players to kind of sit up and take notice of us again. But at the moment, I think for players in terms of coming to Liverpool, we're too much of a risk. We don't know if we're going to be in the Champions League, out of the Champions League, and players want that. Players want to be competing in the best competitions year in, year out. And at the moment, until we're in the top 4 consistently and pushing on further than that for the league, we're going to attract those players in the second tier rather than the world class that we obviously need at the moment.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, if you remember our last Champions League campaign, 14-15, this is post-Suarez, obviously, we got drawn against Ludogorets, FC Basel, and obviously Real Madrid. I think we finished, was it 3rd in that group? We lost to Basel, I think, away. We might have drawn with Ludogorets. I think it was like a late Balotelli equaliser, if I can remember correctly. We'll just be hoping that it's not like a repeat of that. Obviously, losing Coutinho could be huge for us, and it could really dent our Champions League chances should we get past Hoffenheim.
It would literally be a carbon copy, wouldn't it? Like you just said, we qualified for the Champions League. Suarez was gone. We replaced him with Balotelli. Lambert. Yeah, that's not the signings that you're hoping for once you qualify for the Champions League. And I just hope this season's not a repeat. We've qualified for the Champions League. Hopefully we get past Hoffenheim and you're in the group stages. And then the last thing you want then is for your best player to leave, i.e. Coutinho. So let's see what happens with that. But I'm hoping we need to kick on. And I think for us, if we've got any ambition to not just be a top 4 candidate, if you want to go to the quarterfinals and beyond the Champions League, we need to be there season in, season out. And until that happens, like I just said, we're not going to have the pick of the best players, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I think we're going to really face some proper competition in the Premier League this season. The top six is becoming even more, solidified. We're getting a real, a sort of a bourgeoisie of football, you might say, in the Premier League. You've got Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, City, United, and then there's us. And it's just, I feel like we aren't up there with them. We don't compete on the same players. We don't have the same depth as some of them. Obviously, I'm looking mostly at United and City there, who've done some brilliant business this summer. But yeah, we're not competing for the title. Like I can say that confidently now. We're not going to be up there, given obviously the improvements that the rest of the teams around us have made this season.
Yeah, and like I said, and that is directly comes from not improving our first 11. First of all, you've got United who've already brought in Lukaku. Man City, I'm scared to even mention Man City because they can put out comfortably 2 first 11s at the moment. Their depth is insane. They've got Danilo, Walker at right back. They've now brought in Mendy at left back as well to compete. Aguero, Jesus, is frightening. Their midfield alone. Okay, the only thing I'm hoping for is the fact that you can't keep all of those players happy. There's going to be a little bit of disharmony, but for Guardiola, you've got a top manager there as well. They're all going to want to be in that team, aren't they? So it's hard to look past them in terms of their depth. But them, Chelsea, unfortunately, United are going to be up there. I just think unless we pick up a couple of big transfers now before the end of the window, we're only going to be challenging for top 4 and nothing more than that at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Obviously, you mentioned City there. The signings they've made, they brought in obviously Bernardo Silva for the wings. They've got real depth there now as well. The fullbacks they've solved. They brought in that keeper, didn't they, Edison, quite early on in the window. They've solved their keeping issues. Would you pick them to be Premier League champions?
For me, yeah. But saying that, I do remember saying that last season as well, and they didn't do as well as everyone had predicted. This year, I just think Guardiola has the pick of the best squad in the Premier League, in my opinion. I can't look too far past them for the first place. I just hope that we, as a club, can get a couple more players in to kind of get a little bit closer. You don't want to be, come the end of the season, 20, 25, 30 points behind Man City. That's not going to show any progression whatsoever. So, yeah, for me, probably Manchester City. And just hope Liverpool sneak into that top 4, probably ahead of Arsenal again.
What would be your top 4 prediction then? What would you go with?
Let's go Man City 1, Chelsea 2. Third is a bit of a tricky one because, again, you would say Spurs, but they haven't done anything at all this year.
No.
They're probably, I think, the only team. They're the only team who haven't signed anyone.
I mean, they're the only team that haven't signed any players. I know that Stoke haven't spent any money, but they have brought in players on loan. So yeah, they're the only team to not do literally bring anyone in. Obviously, they lost Walker to City, 50 million. So
yeah. Now, Man City, Chelsea 1 and 2. I hate saying this, but I think United may finish ahead of us in third, and I tip us to get fourth again. I think Spurs may fall out of it, and Arsenal, I don't think, based on their transfer window either, are really kind of pulling up any trees. So that's my top 4.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you saw my prediction the other day, and you weren't too happy with who I picked to win the league, and it does feel a bit dirty saying it, but I genuinely do back United. I think Mourinho's got a bit of a record winning the league in his second season. He's done it with every club he's been at. Both of his stints at Chelsea, he did it. I think that's where I'd put my money. They've signed Matic. Yeah, go on.
Do you still think they're strong enough defensively? That's the thing for me. For number 1.
Yeah, I mean,
I think why they'll be strong defensively is because simply Mourinho will put bodies behind the ball. We saw it when he brought his team to Anfield, start of last season, when we were really on fire. He just came up and he brought bodies and he put them behind the ball. He'll do that in all the big games. He'll see out draws. He'll see out 1-0 wins. They'll have Lukaku up top as a sort of a outlet for the defenders and the midfielders as well. I think genuinely they are the strongest team, despite City signings.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I still think they're kind of suspect defensively. I know what you're saying about Mourinho parking the bus. He's going to do that, but I think he'll only tend to do that against the top teams. And Man United are there defensively, there for the taking. I think you've got a lot of pace in the Premier League now, and a lot of teams know how Mourinho's going to turn up. But I just think in terms of the teams in the bottom half of the table, the outside of the top 7. I think he won't take. He'll take a few more risks, and that'll leave him open for me. So I think that's why I rate Man City for the league, and Man United not so high. And I'm hoping we'll actually finish ahead of them, but that's me wishful thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I think mostly with United, the defending will come from Matic. I think they've brought in Matic. Obviously, they've still got Herrera in there as well. They've got Pogba, who's going to be like, once again, obviously, first season he wasn't too influential on that side, but coming into the second season now with Lukaku up front, I think we're really going to see the best out of their best players, and I think they've just stuck money behind the whole project, haven't they?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and not to speak too much about them, but I think for some reason Matic didn't get a huge backing, did he, when he signed for him? But I think it'll be huge for him, absolutely huge. Defensively, I think he's sound, and he'll allow, as you just said, the likes of Pogba to get forward and influence games. But I think it's a top signing for them, and I think a lot of fans. He'll be kind of like a Fellaini type. I don't think he's appreciated for what he actually does. He'll do a lot of the dirty work, and he'll provide brilliant cover for their back line. I just still hope that the likes of Smalling and Lindelof, who hasn't had a great pre-season by all accounts, I hope that'll continue into the season.
Yeah, because they'll have. I think Rojo will be back in time.
He's Moreno Mark II, isn't he, Rojo?
No, because to be fair to Rojo, I will give him this. He has been decent at centre back, and I've got a few United mates, and they've genuinely said he's been decent at centre back. I don't want to talk about United too much though. I do want to say, like, had we signed Matic, I think we'd all have been raving about him, to be honest.
100%, yeah. He's exactly what we need. You touched on it earlier. We still haven't replaced directly Mascherano, have we? So we haven't had a solid defensive midfielder in there for years. I know Lucas played there, but he's not on the same level as Mascherano.
Yeah, looking ahead to the team news that sort of came out against Watford, Henderson will be back in time, so I can expect him to start, which would be a good boost to the squad. What would you say your lineup would be ahead of the Watford game?
What do you reckon about the formation, first of all?
4-3-3 for me. This has got to be that. 4-3-3.
Okay, so keeper for me, I reckon he'll still stick with Mignolet based on his form towards the end of last season.
Yeah, definitely for me as well.
I've already said, didn't I, Moreno at left back.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Lovren and Matip, centre half.
Yeah.
Right back is a tricky one, I think. I think Joe Gomez has got a case to start there, as is Trent. I think, based on Klopp and how much he rates him, Trent will start there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Alexander-Arnold, definitely just get him in and sort of just give him some game time as well. I think when we saw him last season, fleetingly, albeit, he was very impressive, and I think obviously with the Klein injury, we're not sure how long he's going to be out for. I'd say just give it to one player and let them cement a place. Don't swap between Joe Gomez and Trent. Stick to one.
One of them needs to kind of get their foot in the team and stay there for as long as possible, in terms of if Klein is going to be out for weeks or whatever. But probably maybe a little bit controversially, I personally would go for Joe Gomez, and that's just because obviously he's played centre back, he's played right back. And I think he's going to be better in the air than Trent as well. So I think he's a little bit more physically imposing. Trent, I love going forward. I think he can offer us a lot going forward, but that's not going to be his main duty with the likes of Mane ahead of him. So for me,
on the other side as well.
Exactly.
That team.
For me, I think Trent will start there, but for me, I would go Joe Gomez. So then you said a 3, yeah?
Yeah, so 4-3-3. So we're looking at the 3 in the midfield. I think this is probably the most debated positions on the field amongst Liverpool fans. We've got obviously quite an array of options. Unfortunately, Lallana's out for a few months, which really does dent that midfield depth. But what's the 3 you'd go with?
Yeah, well, it makes it easier to select the 3 then. Obviously, you've got Hendo back, so he's going to be the first name in there in that midfield. I think it'll be followed up with Chan and Wijnaldum.
Yeah.
for me. Obviously, you've got the Lallana injury, and you'd expect if Coutinho apparently has a back injury, he probably would have dropped in there deeper for me. But with him out as well, I think it makes that midfield three easy to select. Can, Hendo, Wijnaldum there.
That has become quite easy now. Obviously, I've completely wiped Coutinho out of my mind there for a second. But I'd go with the exact same three. I think Lallana, I would have started. Would he have been fit? I would have probably put him in over Gini for this one. But yeah, I think Gini can still do a job for us, to be honest. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think your comment with Joe Gomez actually is quite interesting with the physicality. I'm thinking also he's a lot more defensively minded. We've got to be really careful, I think, with Watford this season. I think they could be one of the dark horses.
They've got a good manager now, haven't they? With Silva gone there from Hull as well. We all seen what he could do. He looks like another young promising manager. And Watford could be a dark horse, but looking at that 11, put Klein in there, then that's pretty solid defensively. Obviously, we need the Van Dijk. We definitely need a Van Dijk looking at that 11. But that 11 on paper should be enough to compete with most teams in the league as an 11. But beyond that, like I said, I still think we're struggling in terms of depth.
Yeah, I mean, I'd completely agree. I think we do need like 2 or 3 more players still. I think we've all been saying it all summer long. But looking specifically at Watford, what they've got on offer, Andre Gray obviously made the move there for £18.5 million, club record fee for his services from Burnley. He gave us absolute nightmares last season. He's going to be the main threat for Burnley, not for Burnley, for Watford, surely.
Yeah, I think so. And to be honest with you, 18.5 did you just say?
Yeah.
18.5 for an Andre Gray. That just, to me, kind of sums up how mad the transfer window has gone. The transfer market is nuts. 18 million for an Andre Gray. I think that's...
How many goals did he score last season?
I have no idea, but not 18 million worth for me.
How much is a Premier League goal worth? That's what everyone's wondering.
He's going to be a threat. We've seen what he could do last season. He's direct, he's pacey, he can score a goal. He can be a bit of a handful as well. He's quite an aggressive striker, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. I mean, he was brilliant, I think, last season. This is where we could really get caught out. I remember, I think it was for his goal against us, when they were playing at Turf Moor. The fullbacks had gone up for an attack and they just sprung a counter on us, Burnley. And he just ran in that channel in between the fullback and the centre-back. And I think that's where Joe Gomez being selected could actually be crucial. You'll see him stay back a lot more often. And that's actually going to close the space, obviously, and stop Andrew Gray being less of a threat. And if you've got Moreno on the other side, this is where I fear. If he goes too far forward, we could really get caught out on the counter there.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go the other way and say we're going to have too much up front for Watford to think about. When you've got the pace of Mane and Salah there, Watford are not going to take that many risks. They can't afford to, because we're frightened on the counter-attack. We've seen it against Bayern Munich. We're absolutely frightening. Every time that we gained the ball back from Bayern Munich, we had 3, 4, 5 bodies absolutely flying forward 100 miles an hour, and you leave Salah and Mane one-on-one and his, chin up, all the best.
I mean, I don't want to underplay our chances by any means. I genuinely think we still are favourites for this fixture, and there's no doubt in my mind, obviously, about that, and I think we will go on to get a win, but it is just looking at it a bit sort of maybe pessimistically. I think that's a lot of fans now, that's the sort of mindset we instantly go to. But there is definitely hope for. Obviously, there is a lot of hope with the front three we have. I think it could be one of the best attacks in the league, to be honest, this season.
100%. You've got the creativity of Firmino, flanked with the pace and directness of Mane and Salah. So, offensively, we've got no issues. But how many times we've been saying that over the years is always defensively. We've always kind of gone to pieces, unfortunately. So put a Van Dijk in there, and I'm fairly happy with the first 11.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so I'm going to get the magic prediction from you, Ty. What are you saying for Liverpool-Watford?
I'll say a nice solid start, 2-0, clean sheet.
Back in a clean sheet.
Let's be positive. Let's be positive. Start as we mean to go on.
I'm going to say 2-1. I think Gray's going to show up again. He's going to cause us a few problems, but I think Salah's really going to sort of just overpower the whole thing. He's going to steal the headlines for me.
Okay, yeah, hopefully.
Anything else to add before we finish, Ty?
No, let's just hope this Coutinho saga takes another twist for me, that'll be the kind of priority for me. I want to see another twist. I want to see him perform a bit of a U-turn and say that he's happy to stay for another 12 months. And from there, maybe add a Van Dijk, as I've said about 3 or 4 times already. Van Dijk, Coutinho, and I'm fairly happy. Maybe I'd love a surprise. I would love a transfer deadline day surprise. I can't remember the last time we had any excitement on a deadline day. It was always, you see it on Sky Sports News.
Andy Carroll.
I've erased that. On Sky Sports News, is every time it's there, it's just kind of like tumbleweed in there. There's nothing to report. There's no excitement. There's no fans even bother turning up anymore because they just know that nothing's going to happen. Club always comes out and said this more or less we're done for the transfer window. So I'd love a little surprise move, but I won't hold my breath.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, absolute pleasure talking to you, Ty, as always. Either way, the excitement is just around the corner. Obviously, we got was it now? Not long left. Under a day until we kick off against Watford. Klopp's obviously going to be looking to return some glory days to Anfield this season. Champions League, Premier League. To be honest, I'd take an FA Cup at this point.
Sound like an Arsenal fan.
Anyway,
Arsenal. That wraps up today's podcast. Obviously, we should be hearing from you shortly. Should everything go well, fingers crossed. And that's everything. So say goodbye, Ty.
Cheers, guys.
And it's bye from me as well.